Okay, I wanted to bring a quick video just to show you a couple of things. We had this vehicle come in with a complaint that the blower motor wasn't working. It wasn't blowing at all, no matter what speed you put it on. So we come over here where I have my tool plugged in, and right here is where the fuse is for the blower motor. And the first thing I noticed is it's supposed to be a 40 amp fuse, but it's a 50 amp fuse, and you can see that it is not blowed. It's got a terminals. It's hard to see in there, but it is not. It is not blown. So down here is the relay for the blower motor, and when I used my tester, the relay was getting power and it is working correctly. But when I went over to the blower motor, there was no power at the blower motor, and it goes directly from this relay through the fuse to the blower motor. So the next thing I did was backtrack, and when I pulled this fuse box up out and pulled the connector terminal out, it was all melded on the wire that goes from here to the blower motor. So I pulled this fuse out, and you can see how black it is because they had a fuse that was bigger than what was supposed to be in there, and it's actually melded this, so the current wasn't actually going through this because it goes through the relay and into the fuse and into the fuse box. And when I took the fuse out, the terminals, there was no continuity from this terminal to the terminal where it comes out of the fuse box. And so even if I had put a new fuse in, I still wouldn't have power. So I had to take the fuse box completely apart and clean this terminal because it was all black and melded plastic. Evidently the original fuse blew. They put a higher amp fuse in because the blower motor is probably drawing too much current. It was drawing more than 40 amps. And then somewhere after that, they replaced the blower motor. They probably just stopped. Usually they start using more and more power, and then they just quit working. And in the meantime, somebody put this 50 amp fuse in. So I'm like, of course, the customer, this is actually a used car dealer, so he doesn't know the history on it. That was probably all done before they traded it in on something else, and he bought it at the sale. So I got the fuse box cleaned up, and before I replaced the fuse, I'll put a 40 amp in there. But what I did was I hooked up my pulsar, and it allows you to adjust what the amperage setting is. So it's a 40 amp circuit. So I adjusted it. That little red dot means it is on, and it's limiting to 40 amps. And this is what my amperage is that is going through that circuit. So it's a 40 amp circuit, and it's under 20 amps, which normally they rate them at double whatever they expect. So if you have a 10 amp fuse, you'll see about 5 amps on that circuit. So it gives 50% leeway for safety. So if you got something that's blowing a 40 amp fuse, it should only have 20 amps on it, so it's already got 40 amps, and you put a 50 amp fuse in there, so you're more than doubling, going from 20 to 50, and it melded that fuse. That is why you do not, number one, put higher amp fuses in. You fix the problem. The other thing that I wanted to mention is just looking at this fuse, you would see it's good. But had you take a voltmeter and checked it, you can see it's all melded, and it wasn't allowing current even though it never blew the fuse. So that's why we don't just visually, sometimes we'll take and visually look at the fuses real quick to see if any's blowing. If they're blowing, then we know that's the problem. But if they're not blowing, we use a voltmeter or a test light to verify that there's current going through there. So I just thought it was kind of an oddball problem that we really don't run into. This vehicle is notorious for blower motors causing this fuse to blow. and normally you have to replace the fuse in the blower motor and then you're good to go. But for whatever reason, somebody decided they were just going to put a higher amp fuse in there, and they almost burnt this fuse box up. It melted the terminals actually had like melted plastic on them. I had to clean it all off, put it all back together. But that's a very expensive fuse box. It's got a circuit board in there, and it's got a little computer it's basically a body control module, and it turns a lot of things on and off. So I hope you enjoy these videos, and we'll catch you on the next one.